My name is Caroline, and I've been in the healing arts, the psychic arts, the oracle, and divination arts for about 25 plus years, and been working as a healer and ceremonialist and medicine woman for almost that long. And today, let me see if, well, first, let's see if folks, oh, yay. Awesome. You can hear me. Hello, beautiful Claire, Mary, Laura, tuning in from France, Winston-Salem, Stone Mountain, Muskogee Land, beautiful. Beautiful. So we can feel ourselves, right? So these points of light, that is your consciousness, that is you, tuning in, and we can, as we bring our attention to our awareness, to our consciousness, that we're all linking in as a grid. The effects are tremendous. I've been going down more rabbit holes of understanding more of the quantum field and the quantum gap and really what's going on. We felt it so much as sitting in the seat of our bodies and as oracles and as priestesses. It's a very intuitive, feminine process, I feel, to know that we are all connected, to feel into the intuitive field, the psychic field. And so much of it now, right, is being validated by science, by these new discoveries through these technologies that are coming out more and more, of how everything being light, sound, and frequency that we know. And, I have to admit my own ego and my own roll your eyes part of myself, sometimes when scientists or like another like white male is like, oh, this thing, which, indigenous people and women have known for like eons of time. And now that's, put the stamp on it for science, and then it's validated. So I go back and forth of diving into the knowledge piece and to really get the explanation. It's a fascinating process. And I'm always so curious what language that the scientists will put on certain phenomenon that we feel in our bodies, that we know in our hearts. And so the latest right now is like talking about the quantum gap and the place where there is that space where the electron goes into the void. They call it the forbidden, which I think is so fascinating. It's the forbidden place. Like that's what the scientific community has decided to call it. It's the unknown, it's the void, it's the womb of no thing. We can use the language that I prefer because I'm just more of a poet at heart, of that, the metaphorical, the poetry of it, the art. Right. So it's such a beautiful balance to discover what we've been knowing for so long, and having the mind be able to relax a little bit. When I've been going to certain retreats that are really for like the masses and pretty heavy on the science, that's one thing I notice, is there's an ability for the mind to relax. And I've never had that's not been my strong point, in terms of I've never been someone that has to have a mental understanding of something first. But I know that most people do. And so it's super fascinating to see that allowance and that permission, and there's a beauty to it. So back to today is when we're talking about consciousness and where our energy resides, and where most of our the majority of our, let's say, like the data bank, right? So if our energy is mostly in our third chakra at any given time, we're going to be seeing the world, we're going to be experiencing the world from that lens. And so when we have an imbalance between our lower triangle, which would be the first three centers, and then our upper triangle, which is the throat, the ajna, and the crown, and then the heart sits right in the center, because it's really the intermediary between the upper and the lower. It's, past the heart. When the energy gets past the heart, you're going to have a certain level of awakening, or frequency of oneness to be able to go into the throat. And so there's times in our lives that it's just the nature of life. There's nothing wrong with it, but we can be more aware and bring in our attention, bring in our awareness to help balance out. So when we're just in like we're in the trenches and we are having a lot go on the physical plane, and we're not really connected into the awe. We're not connected into the things that light us up. We're not connected to our vision, our intuitive nature. We tend to be heavy in the lower triangle. It's like that. And really that's really most of humanity is we're at that point of, are we going to make it as humanity from the lower three centers up into the heart? And then from the heart, we can start integrating our truth and communication, our vision, and our connection to the cosmos. But as humanity starts to, as we've been, get shaken up, it's a matter of forgetting, right? So like when we say that we have forgotten, it's because we just haven't made it to the heart. Because as we've all had those moments when we really rest in the heart and allow the heart to blossom, those are the moments that we might not yet have clarity of vision. We might not be able, like our clairvoyance might not be turned on, or there's not necessarily a trust, but we can have that place of peace and ease and knowing who we are within our hearts. And so that those times where we're just really in the trenches of 3D, it's that lower triangle is really what's informing life, and will be reflected in that, right? So that can be our interactions with people are more in the base level, power, sexual tension, survival, right? Those are all the first three centers. And when the opposite, when we are in the place of expansion and imbalance, where our third eye is wide open, our crown is too wide, it's too open. There's that place of instability where we don't know we don't know how to chop wood, carry water. And I lived there for a really long time. We come in, with I think just our karmic samskaras and the energy that we left our last time. It really informs, especially the first part of our life this time, until we really can be more conscious in what we're choosing to work with. And so I came in with these centers really just wide open. And that was the propensity, and having seizures as a kid, to um, just the first, or these more available. And there's a balance of how we work with that, because I was just speaking with someone last week, and then after that conversation, as things come to me in threes or this wave, I had multiple sessions with people, clients, and then other conversations with friends with the same inquiry of that line between walking a path of the mystic and being able to very consciously speak to those that are working with you on the other side, your ancestors, your guides, having the visions, have precognition, knowing when something's going to happen before it does, and not go tip the scales and feel unstable by it. Does that make sense? It's like this way of, how do we be able to stay grounded in the path of the mystic, and the path of the mystic, and the path of the seer, the path of the heart that's awakening, but also the path of the oracle, which has a very available third eye ajna crown. And so if we usually tend at some point in our life to swing on the pendulum. And so, as I mentioned in my email, if you read my email, of there was a time where there was just no veil between this world and the next for me. I was in college, and I remember going into, you had to go to, because we didn't have computers, go into the math. This math department. It was like in the basement. It's got this like horrible lighting, and there's these huge computers, and it was this math lab. And I remember going in, and it was like, this is before the Matrix came out. but it was like the Matrix. All I could see were the different frequencies coming off these computers. And it just was not, I was like, oh, I got to get out of here. And then I'd go and sit by a tree and I would breathe in and it would just activate. This Kundalini would come up my body. And then it was almost like those things at the fair where you like ding and it goes up. I forget what those are called, but and every time I would take a breath, it would just accentuate the prana, the life force that comes before the breath. And it was like my ajna, my third eye would just get dinged again. And there's these beautiful trees on campus, and I would just sit by the tree and breathe and put my spine against the tree. But then it would just be activated again. I would be watching people walk, but I would be watching their light bodies. It was very hard to actually see their physical forms. And, at 19, 20, that was a little tricky. And I was gifted a blessing of having older friends at that time that really kind of took me under their wing. That time it seemed old, at least. They were in their 30s. And there was a way that these different mentors showed up in my life and really helped me start to ground, because it was very destabilizing, but not to the point, like I knew enough in just my own soul path where to lean into it, to not shut it down, to really lean into the experience of what is this teaching me. And I share this because I think there's many times where it might not be that extreme, but variations where, speaking with a dear friend who has just been getting woken up every single night for going on almost a month of really powerful experiences. But being a mom with children is pushing her to the level because she just needs to sleep. But there's a way that our souls like show up sometimes and say, okay, well, this is where there's space enough. And a lot of times for folks that happens during sleep, where there's an access point to the different dimensions and healings and teachings, and the veils are becoming so much more thin on the planet, as I'm sure you have felt. And so we really have to take care of our form, and we really have to take care of balancing out the lower centers with the upper centers. So in all of those examples, that's an example of that you're top heavy. Like the upper centers and your spiritual centers have more prana, have more uh, vibrancy than your lower centers. And as we are continuing to speed up, so the acceleration of the universe, the acceleration of our growth, acceleration of our transformation, that happens so much more, happens quicker these days, as we all know that too. It's so important to find your root. It's so important to find your grounding cord. It's so important to check in throughout the day and feel into the lower and the upper triangles and ask, like, where are you at? You'll feel moments where you can feel like, okay, I'm weighted. Oh, I'm top heavy. And then asking for balance, coming into balance, and as much as you can in that moment, right? So this is a circuitous way of going into the practice today of tuning into asking, getting curious, where are you at with the lower triangle and the upper triangle, and what is needed in your life. And again, there's just moments where no matter what you do and ask for balance, your lower three centers, you are really, focused on raising children, you're focused on 3D creations. It's like there's just a time where that's just needed. Like you're going to be more powered up. There's going to be more there's going to be more dynamic energy in your lower three centers, and that's fine, and that's necessary to do what we need to be done. When we go to our meditation retreats, right, we then have the ability, like even if the metaphor of withdrawing up into the heart through the lotus, right? So if we can just, even I was in a meditation, they're saying just picture yourself in the lotus position. I was like, well, that's interesting. Ask, and it was like, oh, the symbology, right? So we're like bringing our legs up from the earth, and there's a time and place for that as well. So we are going to dive into a guided experience and something that you can really take with you and practice at home. So there'll be I'll guide you through the practice, and then there's going to be more instructions on how you can work with this on your own, because it's a really vital one. And again, like, it's just so interesting, these different portals that get open up, having a conversation with one person that then the kind of opened up this magnetism to there's been so many experiences just in the last week that I've heard people reflect how important this practice actually is. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you for being here. And just as always, you're going to take a moment, get yourself comfy. And when you're ready, you're going to close your eyes. And as always, inviting the breath to go a little bit deeper into the body. With your inhalations, feeling the breath go all the way down your pelvic floor. And the exhales, coming back into this moment. The next few rounds of breath, summoning yourself to yourself. Through all timelines, all lifetimes, all dimensions and realities. Let yourself relax into this moment, into the luxury of feeling yourself return to yourself. And saying hello to your grounding cord, that root center, Muladhara, the will to be here in form. And letting that grounding cord go from the base of your spine all the way into the center of the earth. And having it be as wide as your hips if it's not already. And saying hello to your crown center at the top of your head, Your spine nice and straight, allowing the petals of your crown to unfurl. And linking into the heart, breathing into the front of the heart and the back of the heart. And just checking in, how is your heart doing today in this moment? Is it feeling like it needs a little bit of protection? Are you feeling soft? Just notice what you notice. An opening, sensing. Imagining these 3 points of light, the base of your spine, your heart center, and your crown. Letting your awareness and your focus rest at these 3 points of focus. Coming into coherence. Harmony. Good. We're going to tune into the lower 3 centers. So your first chakra, the Muladhara. Your second, your sacral center, Svadhisthana. And your third, your solar plexus, Manipurna. And as always, just notice what you notice. How does your sacral feel? How's your solar plexus today? And feeling into these 3 points of light that is the consciousness of these 3 centers. You can feel these 3 points of light, your first, second, and third chakras. forming a triangle. So at the solar plexus would be the base of the triangle. The tip is your base. And then your sacral moves to, or just fills in that space. So you're just visualizing a triangle that the point points down, the base at your solar plexus. And as a whole, how does this triangle feel? Or this energy gateway? I'm going to ask for balance. Good. And allow that intention to come into the background. Good. And moving awareness to your throat center, point between the eyebrows, your third eye, and the crown, the top of your head. And saying hello to these three centers, these points of light, points of consciousness. How's your throat today? Your third eye, your place of vision, and your crown, a place of trust in yourself as divine, a connection from your body that moves up into higher dimensions and higher frequencies. And feeling into these 3 points of light as a whole. Do you feel expansive? Do you feel contraction? Somewhere in between. And ask for balance. Your system naturally wants to be in harmony and coherence. So simply by the invitation asking for balance, your chakras will start to realign themselves. I'm getting curious, what feels more activated in this moment? If you're tuning into your lower three centers as a whole, your base, sacral, solar plexus, these 3 points of light, 3 points of consciousness, information, frequency. Or the three, the throat, your third eye, and your crown. What feels more activated, more vibrant? Are you more in the 3D part of life, survival, or building, creating on this earth plane? Are you more attuned to the different dimensions, vision? Just asking for balance between these two. So asking for that balance of the lower three centers and the upper three. Just asking for balance between the two, and notice what you notice. You might notice your body takes a breath, or your spine gets more upright. Just get curious, what happens when you ask for this balance, to have more coherence between your lower centers and your upper centers. Good. Now bringing awareness to your heart, right in the center of your chest. Saying hello to the front of your heart and the back of your heart. And from this place, right in the center of your sacred heart, this place of alchemy, coherence, asking for your lower centers and your upper centers meet in the point of alchemy right inside your heart. The place of our humanity, our survival, our sexuality, our power, our place of vision, the arts, place where we can fly and visit other worlds, coming into coherence and alchemy right in the center of your chest. Feeling the energy from the lower centers rising up, feeling the energy from your upper centers flowing down, meeting right in the middle, your sacred heart. And breathe. Allow and feel. When the mind wanders, just bring it back to the awareness of your heart. And allowing now the energy, this alchemy, the transmutation energy that's overflowing in the heart flow down to your lower three centers, out to your grounding cord, touching into the heart of Pachamama, Mother Gaia. The energy from the heart flowing up to your throat, to your third eye, your crown, out the top of your head. Moving into your soul light, into the heart of the divine. Knowing that from your heart you have full access to your humanity, your animal nature, your mammalian self. And through your heart, you have access to your full divine spirit nature, your cosmic self, your fifth dimensional self. That they're both and. You are both and that both and resides in the heart. Remembering your breath. taking a moment, giving thanks to the great below and the great above, and to your sacred heart. When you're ready, you can slowly start to let a little bit of light into your eyes, opening them slowly, or you can stay inward as always. And when you start to come back to this, the room you're in, the reality, see if you can stay present, some of your awareness on your heart center, soft gaze, letting yourself just slowly come back, soft periphery. And welcome back when you're ready. And if you, of course, feel like sharing, please feel free. If you want to stay inward, just and close your screen. I wish you well on your day or your evening or whenever you're listening to this. Know if you could feel the energy of what happens when we invite the heart into the picture and when we really allow the master alchemist that the heart is to do its job. So if you could feel in, we can have the intention of balancing out our lower centers and our upper centers on their own, but the mechanism of the heart and why the heart sits in the middle of those two is really evident when we allow those energies to meet with the intention of transmutation and alchemy. So I'm so curious how that landed for you. In terms of a practice to move forward in your life, it's just, it can really be that simple where you say hello to your three centers as a whole. Say hello to your three centers as a whole. Notice where most of your life force is at and if there needs to be an adjustment. And once you balance out those two, so like the lower centers, the upper centers, if I was just looking at like one at a time, like the lower three, the upper three come into balance and then bring in the heart. That really just allows the opening to feel the energy, because it's such a beautiful reminder when you are either way too up in your head and like mentally over focused, or you are in more of your emotional nature, your animalistic nature, and can't quite seem to get a bird's eye view, so to speak. That sense of like saying hello, and then going to the heart. Because the most beautiful thing I feel about this practice is that it brings in, not just brings in the heart, but that the heart is uh, the main act, so to speak. It's a, when we bring in the heart alchemy, it's actually what transforms the energy. And that's where we get to be both and that's the point, right? Like we're in these human bodies and we get to, like, you could feel from the heart the difference of when that energy goes down into your lower centers. But from the heart, it's like you get to be super in your body, sensual, sexual, in touch with nature, like in this place of deep awareness of your mammalian nature. It's an incredible gift that we have. We're able to have, like, go take a walk in nature. I mean, it just blows my mind whenever I'm out hiking, or it's just like, what planet am I on? And we get to smell the flowers and go jump in cold rivers, and it's quite spectacular. So we get to really feel the grace of that and the miracle. And then we also, from this place of the heart, get to dance with our star nature, get to have access to the multidimensional selves that we are beings that have access to the future. We can sense events happening before they do because time's not linear. We have the capacity to vision, to dream a new world into being, to be able to feel something, see something that doesn't exist yet, and call it forth. And from the heart is really that access point, is where we get to be that, but grounded. We're not overstimulated in our upper centers. We're not living too much in the spirit realm and negating our body, because that's when, if we spend too much time in the other realms without paying attention to our body, like disease will come in. The body shuts down when it's not honored, right? So it's such a incredible practice of also that gratitude of this walk of being a human that we get to do, because when it's our time and we take our last breath, leaving these bodies, and we become consciousness again, we become our spirit selves, and we spend so much time as humans wanting that other thing, whatever that other thing might be. So I feel like this is a really good practice that brings us back in touch with our humanity and our divinity, and how they're both one and the same, and to like marvel in it, right? It's like, oh, yay. Go get the ice cream cone and go out in nature, or speak to a friend in connection, or have like amazing sex with your partner, or just like, yay, right? Be human, and then be able to be in awe about it, because that's the point. This too shall pass, this world, this beingness in this form. And we shouldn't really rush. We shouldn't rush the experience, right? So I'm just going to jump into the chat to see. Kim felt safe to open your crown once your heart was connected. Oh, beautiful, right? Because like, we're not disassociating. And this can happen so much when we are over identified with visioning, journeying, or we're over identified with escaping. And that can be also through different spiritual practices as well. So when we're really rooted in the heart, it can integrate. It's like, okay, I got the download from the Syrian Star Nation, and it's like, can get really esoteric and heady. And it's like, well, that's great. What's the point, And at least that's what I am always an inquiry about. And when I'm in my heart and I'm feeling connected in the heart and the body, and I get those information, get that experience, it processes through my nervous system in a way that makes it applicable. It makes it applicable to this realm, to the offering of the gifts of those. I'm just giving an example of, like, let's say Syrian star energy. Like, what is that, right? It's like, it's an incredible frequency, and that's a lot of people's star homes. It's my star home. There's a lot there. However, but when it's from just this like upper centers esoteric place, it can feel very fantastical, and it can, the line between true experience and delusion can be very thin. But when you're rooted in your heart with it, and you can feel that opening with your crown, like you were saying, Kim, it really has a purposeful and embodied experience feel to it. Hillary, oh my gosh, this was amazing. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I felt it was a little like in the beginning of talking. I can feel really mentally scattered and overwhelmed, and I realized when doing this practice that my sacral root was constricted, keeping my energy higher up. Totally, right? Totally. It's like, oh, we just got to get those, like, shake your hips out, right? So, Laura, you're curious. The lower triangle wanted to flip wide at the bottom. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Yes, love. That is good information. It's a diagnostic, right? And so I would encourage you to work with that, of why that is. And if there's I don't want to say for you of like, oh, well, that means X, Y, and Z because I don't know what's going on in your energy field right now exactly. And so, but I would guess, having known you for a long time, you've worked so much at getting grounded and allowing your more like expansive nature to be able to mix with the earthly plane and embodiment. So it might be a habit to have the energy just immediately want to go up, right? So if that's our tendency, then you might want to work with, well, what would it be like to have the energy go down? And if the triangle imagery doesn't work for you, for anyone, you can really just feel it as points of light because that's what our chakras are, and their information, their consciousness, and that's why I say it like informs our life. So if our consciousness, if there's a lot of information that's either unprocessed, it's in the unconscious, it's constricted, it's over expansive, that's going to show up in our life as um, relationship struggles, as a mirror of what's going on just in your body with digestion, or it could be headaches. I tend to be on the migraine train, and in terms of the thing that I deal with, I think we all have like certain things, and I have struggled with migraines my entire life, and I know when I get into like if I have multiple migraines, even if it's associated with hormones, I know I'm like, okay, my upper centers are not balanced enough with my lower centers, and that I'm top heavy again, right? So I do readings, and I'm like very much in my third eye, and as much as it's, it's a full body experience, I spend a lot of time navigating the realms. And so I know like I have to work out. Like I have to like, okay, I'm going to like lift weights, like do the things, like get outside. I really, when I'm not in that space, because that migraine thing will kick in. And then that's will show me, using this as an example of asking yourself, like, what is your life showing you? Your life shows you where your energy is, right? And so it's, you don't want to wait till that point. So when I'm really good about doing this practice, even with hormone shifts, I have less migraines. And so it's a reminder to me. I was just actually in my heart while you were doing that. I was like, oh, right. Need to check that a little bit more. All right, loves. I hope this was helpful, and feel free to please re-listen as you feel called. And tomorrow we're opening up the a 7-day course coming up July 22nd, Mary Magdalene Day. And this time, for those who took the 7 days Awaken Divine Feminine, this is going to be about working with your future self. So 7 days of creating your future and creating a sustainable way of shifting your consciousness. So what are you building in your life? Do you want to build a new mental habit? Do you want to build a certain state of consciousness? Do you want to build a new relationship with your finances? So we're gonna pick a seed, and we're gonna really work through the centers and work with the I am presence, go deep with it in a way that is about the surrender. It's going to be from the divine feminine perspective, but it's more about creating, and what are we creating, and then allowing that to really sit in our bodies and sit in our cells. So I'm excited. I mean, anytime for every day for 7 days, choose to commit to something, there's a world of energy available to us and a world of transformation. So that's coming out tomorrow, and that will be July 22nd for that whole week, for 7 days. So I hope you'll join me. And all right, loves, I hope you have a beautiful day, beautiful evening, beautiful moment whenever you're listening to this, and I'll see you next week.